So I'm looking at a study from the New York Fed, and it said that in President Trump's first term, tariffs led to substantial increases in the prices of intermediate and final goods, up to $1.4 billion per month. It seems to me that when we are trying to get inflation down, that this is not going to sit very well.
Okay, so people who talk about tariffs and inflation, it reminds me of the old Sammy Davis song, accentuate the negative and forget about the positive, right? Tariffs raise prices in small amounts. How small? Well, the best study of steel prices showed that the 25% tariff on steel raised the price paid in the US for steel by 2.4%, a tenth of the headline value of the tariffs. Back in 2018, when the Trump administration first time around first imposed the tariffs, and you had this major revolt of the economics community. How dare a president of the United States ignore economists when 90 or 98% of them say tariffs are a bad thing, terrible thing, and they all said it would lead to inflation, it would be passed directly to the consumer. At that point, I went to functions with other economists who told me that it will all be paid for by the consumer. And I would say, well, most of the Chinese goods that are being tariffed at 25%. Can you name one product where the price has gone up by 25% and the consumer's paying that full amount? And not one economist was able to name even one product where prices had gone up by 25%.
Well, I think some of the companies had to absorb that. Don, I want to hear what you say on this.
There were numerous studies of the effects of Trump 1.0 tariffs, and they all the credible ones, certainly come to the conclusion that the vast bulk of the tariffs are passed along to consumers in the form of higher prices. That's the very point of tariffs. If the Chinese absorbed the tariffs, then it wouldn't raise the prices, or if the exporters absorbed the tariffs, it wouldn't raise the prices that Americans pay, and it wouldn't protect American industry. It's the very point of the tariff is to raise prices paid by domestic consumers. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, tariffs are a very good tool for protecting domestic industries, and at the same time say, oh, but they don't raise prices that consumers pay. It's got to be one or the other. It can, as a matter of logic, it can't be both. And as a matter of empirics, they show that, in fact, President Trump was correct in understanding that his tariffs would raise the prices that American consumers paid for imported goods in order to protect those industries that compete with the imports.
Don, when do tariffs make sense? And it seems to me that one of the issues is that if you're talking about a tariff of 10%, or maybe even 25%, but when you start talking about tariffs that are 50 or 60%, that's a whole different kettle of fish.